If you are thinking about a new job as a Adobe Commerce or Magento 2 developer, one of the big roadblocks is likely this whole interview process. Nobody likes it. It's terrifying, honestly. What are these people going to think of me, and what questions are they going to lob my direction I have no clue about? Well, you see in this video, I'm going to break it down. I'm going to give you 8 suggestions as far as how to not only get through the interview, but how to ace it, how to kick him to the curb. And I'm not talking about literally or even figuratively, but I'm talking about you are so far up there in this list. It's why would I even talk to anybody else? Because this person is so good. Number 1 is be hungry. Now, I'm not talking about the type of hunger that I'm currently experiencing. It's almost dinner time here, and boy, am I hungry. No, this is about hungry in our career, hungry to learn, hungry to grow, hungry to excel to the next level. I've done a lot of interviews, and in my experience, it is the difference between somebody developer or not, who is hungry versus not hungry, night and day. And I can tell you, as the owner of SwiftOtter, that I want to work with hungry people, and I'm really grateful for a team of hungry people that we have pulled together. That will set you apart. Now, how does this hunger come out? Now, there's a lot of, you would say, cues and just things as you're listening to someone talk. Yeah, for sure. But here's something really concrete. I was talking to a person that we ended up hiring, and one thing they said that really stood out to me was they spent 15 to 30 minutes a day and studying. And right now they're on this topic of integration testing. They're going to be going after Hoover next, etc. This was their agenda. This was on their roadmap. And they were doing it right now. I'm like, wow, that right there was dropping a good bomb on me. I was like, this is impressive. So be hungry. My suggestion is begin a daily regimen of continuous education. Don't just start the day of your interview and then end the day of your interview. No, you have to be honest about it, of course, but start now and begin to advance and excel yourself. Develop a plan, 2 to 3 topics to master. You will master it. And I mean, if I could suggest this, I know that's not always how time works, but don't start interviewing until you can get some consistency behind you. Number 1 is be hungry. Number 2, you're going to probably say, Joseph, he's kind of going off on his tangent again, kind of the certification guy in the Magento world. Yeah, and I get that, but got to get certified. Come on. And I have these people that push back and say, Joseph, I am so experienced on the Magento platform. I don't need to get certified. Why do I need to prove my credentials? I'm just so good. I'll just ace the interview. Well, I have 2 reasons. Number 1, certification shows that you are willing to invest in this platform. Your most critical audience is not yourself. It is everyone else who you work with, that you're interviewing, the clients that you're interacting with. And when they see, this person is a certified expert business practitioner, a certified expert developer, they're not thinking, I have to interview this person to see how good they are. They see right away you have passed this credential. It's setting a minimum bar. You might be so you might get a 90% on an expert developer test. Fine. But you set a bar that you can easily jump over, and everybody sees that. Reason number 1 is shows that you are willing to invest in the platform, and ultimately you could argue others. But secondly, it increases your experience. Even if you are this rock star unicorn expert that is just amazing with what you do, I can guarantee you there are holes in your knowledge. Guarantee it. You with an application that has 8 million lines of code, it's impossible to put it all in our head. Okay, so it increases your experience. There's going to be those areas that it's going to fill the gaps. Get certified. It is a black mark for me anytime that I am interviewing somebody and they're not certified. I'm like, why can't you go get certified? It's so easy. In fact, there's been cases I pay for people to go get certified. It's just go do it. I'll send them a study guide and I'll help pay the test. If I feel there's that much value that they can provide as a result of this. Get certified. If you're that good, you should be able to do it next week. Just do it. And if you feel like you're going to struggle at it, just do it. Get certified. Number 3 is aggregate your expertise. There's been a lot of times that I ask questions on, every interview I ask questions about their general Magento developer history or their capabilities, or again, if it's more on the business side, what projects are they most proud of? And there's a lot of times that people can't formulate a good answer on that. I'm confident they do have things in their work history that they're proud of, but it's not really something they can immediately talk about. So, a couple of questions that you should be thinking about. First, what projects have you been most proud of? When did you work on these? What was the most challenging task in recent histories? What work have you had to escalate to someone else, perhaps another developer, because it was so difficult? This is a big one. You have to be careful about NDAs, but what examples can you share of projects you built? A really interesting aspect of this is, do you have open source work that you can share yourself? And I'm not talking about ripping stuff out of client work, but if you have actual open source projects that you've contributed to, that's a big deal. What certifications have you achieved? How did you get them? That's an important thing. What fabulous ideas have you had recently? Whether they're rejected or not or accepted doesn't matter. How have you been investing into the company that you were with? So aggregate your experiences, number 3. Number 4, brush up on Magento. It's funny. There's been a number of interviews that I've had that maybe the person's out of Magento for a little while. I asked them a technical question. They're like, yeah, well, I've been out of Magento for a little while. I don't really know the answer. I'm like, doesn't matter. Like, you need to know the answers to these questions, and even an hour of brushing up probably would have resulted in answers for this particular question I'm asking. It's not a hard question. I recommend a couple of steps inside of this step on brushing up on Magento as far as what does it take to quickly get reviewed and make sure that you are generally familiar with the entire application. Review the main topic. So if you're going for a front-end position, understand how UI components work. And if you don't really know how UI components work, get in there, set some breakpoints, both on the front end and the back end, and figure it out. Knockout JS. Okay, how do you import and export, and what's the difference between that and linking, and what are observables? How do all those work together? Really important stuff, and that will set you apart as a developer. And I will say this right now, conversations that I've had with people and they have done extensive work in the checkout, a huge boost right there. The layout system. Do you know about layout XML? Have you done any work with view models? What's the position of view models versus blocks? What about caching? How good are you with less? Backend, for example. Dependency injection. Do you know about how plugins work? What are the ideal use cases for plugins? What things you need to be aware of with plugins? UI components, again, there's a whole rich backend infrastructure for these UI components. We have the REST API, the ACL. How does the ACL work with the REST API? Controllers, where would you use the REST API versus a controller? Other design patterns. There's a lot of these different items here that at least having a general knowledge of will take you a long ways. I also recommend building a scenario, place an order, set breakpoints, step line by line through this. It's kind of like study for taking a test. Summarize these notes into paragraph form and review and try to generally memorize these notes. Again, it comes back to somewhat study for taking a test. So if you get certified and then go interview right after that, that's great. But I will put a big caveat in there. If a company pays for you to go get certified, don't just please do not go and immediately start looking for other work. It's not fair to them. Give it 6 months, give it a year. Grass is not always greener on the other side. I say that all the time. Make sure that you're really careful in that way. Another one, look your best. I'm not talking about wearing a suit and tie. At the end of the day, people do that, and I'm impressed when they do it. But it's a matter of looking nice. Be cognizant of how you carry yourself. Be positive, be happy. That will take you a long way. Look professional. Again, don't have to go buy a suit for this occasion. Just look professional and well, the other thing is, I'll just say this, make sure the background of your area looks halfway decent. That will have an effect. And I would recommend, this might be a little weird, but I would recommend, if possible, and if you can feel comfortable with this, not having one of those fancy backgrounds that you can put on there. It's about being transparent, being a little bit vulnerable. And in my recommendation is to leave those off because it shows that your working environment. And ultimately, it can show that it's a good working environment. Because ultimately, if this is a remote position that you're hiring for, that you're applying for in this case, having kids, dogs, and whatever type of animals coming running through is not necessarily ideal. So being able to have a good quiet background for 1 hour, or however long this interview is really important. Number 6, arrive 5 minutes before the interview. Whatever it takes in order to facilitate that. Whether it's setting reminders on your phone, notifications, timers, I don't know what else. Like, we're grateful to have phones nowadays. Do it. I had a person who was scheduled for an interview, and they showed up 15 minutes late or whatever because they had a plumbing emergency or something. I'm not really quite sure. I didn't actually really sound like it was an emergency at the end of the day, but that's kind of what I don't know all the details, and I'm not here to judge. But at the end of the day, it totally blew this opportunity and it was a great opportunity as well. Like a really, really good opportunity. Or fry 5. It does not matter. Someone's dying. Okay, maybe not. But like, do move heaven and earth in order to make sure you are there at least 5 minutes before the interview. Like I just said, looking your best. That's number 6, right? 5 minutes before the interview. Number 7, focus on the interview. Again, this is a no-brainer. But you know what's funny? These people, those of you that wear glasses, did you know that if you're sitting close to your computer, there is a reflection in your glasses? And I have seen more than once people browsing around doing all sorts of stuff while we're supposed to be having this interview. You know what that communicates to the person doing the interview? This is so boring. This is ridiculously boring. Does it communicate hunger, desire to learn, desire to feed yourself? Not at all. So I guess one option would be to go take your glasses off. That's one option. But the way better option is to focus on the interview, because regardless of whether you're wearing glasses or not, you give the suspicion that you're not paying attention if you're not wearing glasses, and people know you're not paying attention if you do wear glasses. Pick your poison. Neither one is ideal. And number 8, be honest and authentic. I cannot stress how far this will take you. Be vulnerable even. There is this thing about being a professional interviewer, and it's hard. It's a turnoff, to be really honest. If I sense somebody is really good at interviewing, that's a problem. And here's why it is a problem, in my opinion. This is strictly my opinion here. Because for most people, you might interview 5 times every 2 or 3 years or something. I don't know, however many times to get a job. But you're not doing many interviews. Someone who's a professional interviewer has done, say, 50 in a period of time. I'm making up numbers. And so they've gotten really good at it. But it kind of ends up putting up a wall, and they're like, well, why are you such a good interviewer? And subliminally, it kind of starts making the interviewer think, well, maybe there's a reason they can't find a job. Again, this is pulling, grasping at some thin air here, but be honest and authentic. Another aspect or another way this comes out is if you are asked a question that you don't really know the answer to, it is so much better to say, I'm sorry, I don't know the answer to that. Or even better, I'm sorry, I don't know the answer to that, but I will get you the answer by the end of the day today. Bingo. Yeah, that's a good answer. Then follow through with that answer within the timeline that you have prescribed. And better yet, don't lie. If you do a search on YouTube, there's tons of videos about how to detect lying. And there's some pretty easy tells. Now, is it 100%? Probably not. But it's worth considering here. Never, ever lie in an interview. So here's to you to get out there and interview with all of your heart and land that dream job that you've always been wanting.